Today we're diving into a really critical report from a UK parliamentary inquiry. It's all about the escalating crisis facing the Hazara people in Afghanistan, and it presents some pretty stark evidence and an urgent call to action.
Right at the start, the report hits you with this chilling quote from Azra Jafari, who is Afghanistan's first female mayor, and what she's saying is just devastating. This isn't some new crisis. For the Hazara, it's a terrifying return to one of the darkest periods in their recent history. It's like a nightmare repeating itself.
And here it is, the single most urgent conclusion from the entire report. It says, flat out, that the Hazara are at serious risk of genocide. Now, that's an incredibly powerful and legally significant claim, and we're going to unpack exactly what that means.
So, to really get a grip on why that finding is so huge, we first have to understand, who are the Hazara, and why does this report identify them as being so uniquely vulnerable?
Well, at its core, the Hazara are a distinct ethnic and religious minority. And it's that very combination that has, unfortunately, made them a target for persecution for more than a century. Let's break that down, because these factors create a really dangerous situation. The report points out that their distinct facial features make them easily identifiable targets. Then there's religion. They're predominantly Shia Muslims in a country that's majority Sunni, putting them at odds with hardline groups like the Taliban and their rivals ISK. And this isn't new. There's a long, painful history of persecution here, and that old pattern of violence is now repeating with just terrifying intensity.
Now, this report isn't just making vague claims. No, it's laying out the evidence, piece by horrifying piece, documenting a systematic pattern of violence that has just exploded since the Taliban takeover in August 2021.
Just look at this timeline. It shows how relentless these attacks are. You see documented killings by the Taliban, and then this series of absolutely devastating large-scale bombings claimed by ISK. And notice the targets. It's not random. We're talking about men in their villages, people praying in their mosques, and even children in their schools.
And if you need a number to really grasp the scale of this horror, here it is, 151. That's how many civilians were killed in just one of those attacks, the bombing of the mosque in Kunduz. This wasn't a military operation. This was a massacre of people while they were praying.
And as you can see from this chart, these attacks are anything but random. The evidence points to a chilling, deliberate strategy. Look at the primary targets. Almost half are places of worship. Another 30% are schools. This violence is specifically designed to strike at the very heart of the Hazara community's culture, their faith, and their future.
So, who's behind all this? The inquiry points the finger at two main groups, the Taliban, who are now running the country, and their bitter rivals ISK. It's strange, right? These two groups are enemies, but the evidence shows they shared this one violent goal, targeting the Hazara. And their intent couldn't be clearer, with public threats of total annihilation.
Okay, so this brings us to the core legal argument of the report. How do all these awful, documented atrocities connect to that very specific, very heavy international crime of genocide?
We hear the word genocide thrown around, but in international law, it has a very, very precise definition. And the report is careful to analyze all the evidence through this specific legal lens.
This is it, straight from Article 2 of the UN Genocide Convention. The two crucial parts here are the acts themselves and, importantly, the specific intent to destroy a protected group, in this case, an ethnic and religious group like the Hazara.
And when you look at the evidence laid out in the report, it fits this definition like a glove. The mass killings in mosques, the targeted executions, check. That's killing members of the group. The widespread injuries from bombings, the reports of torture, check. That's causing serious bodily or mental harm.
Now, this legal analysis isn't just some academic exercise. It leads directly to the report's ultimate purpose, which is an urgent call for the world to actually do something.
And this is absolutely crucial. The whole point of the Genocide Convention isn't just to punish people after a genocide has already happened. Article I creates what's called a duty to prevent. What that means is, as soon as a serious risk is identified, which this report argues has happened, every country that signed the convention is legally obligated to act.
And so that leaves us with the final gut punch of this entire inquiry. By documenting these atrocities and proving they fit the legal definition, the report is essentially saying a line has been crossed. It argues that for the international community, inaction is no longer just a political choice. It's a failure to uphold a legal and moral duty. So the question it asks the world is, what now?